Hey everyone, Vanessa Hogle here. Um, I said today when I was on Facebook that I was going to a private residence today, not for an investigation necessarily, more of a follow-up consult and plan of attack, I guess, so to speak, on how to deal with things. Um, and I said I'd give a follow-up on here, letting y'all know how things went. Now, keep in mind, this is a private residence, so there are certain things that I can't disclose. That having been said, I did want to go on here and tell y'all it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. We weren't there. What would you say, Gray? Maybe 5 minutes, if that. My son and I went. We weren't there 5 minutes before we started to be affected. Um, Within minutes of me just sitting on the couch, it was as if I had somebody sitting on my lap. It went from being, you can come over here, buddy. Go ahead and come over here. Um, Hop on down here to where people can see you, buddy. It's my boy right here. Um, I was there sitting on the couch, and within just a few moments, it was like somebody sat on my lap. Uh, 72, 74 degrees in the house, about 45 degrees on the entire front of my body. Um, Gray, what would you say you felt?
I felt pain throughout all my shoulder, my neck. Something felt like it was almost biting me or pinching me.
Mhm.
Then when I got up onto the steps, the first thing I felt was my knee breaking.
He felt extreme pain. I would not normally bring a child to something like this, but he's 16 and he has abilities as well, and he wanted to go. Um, the fact that other kids around his age are being affected by what is in this house, we thought it pertinent to get his opinion and his take on it as well. Um, both of us were highly affected. At certain points, it felt like somebody was in my head actually thumping the back of my eyes, my eyeballs, actually thumping them um, so hard to the point I could actually feel it in the orbital bone. And then what happened with you, buddy?
I can't remember what I was talking about. The things that were getting angry at us. The things that I said especially got angry with me. It felt like somebody had put an ice pick right through my ear and hammered it straight in.
He actually had to get up and leave.
I ran out of the house.
And
It hurt that bad.
and I followed him out. We could have left at that moment. He didn't want to. Um, it was his choice to come back in, and I believe really the affecting on you really kind of stopped after that, with the exception of a few
After
things.
that, they kind of left me alone.
Yeah, yeah, they did. It's I think probably the reason that I wanted to go ahead and do this video is to show that you can go in with the best intentions. Wouldn't you agree, Gray? You can go in with the best intentions, and you can still be affected greatly. What they were making me and Grayson feel, not the people that live there, but what is going on there was just a small portion of what the residents are feeling on a daily basis.
Very lucky.
We were very lucky, very lucky. Um, what's really important, and I think what we wanted people to know, and what we figured out about this particular area is within 30 minutes, I was like, there's nothing that can be done. Nothing. Not a damn thing. Gray held out hope. But I was like, no, there's nothing that can be done. This is bad, and it's not getting any better, and I don't know where to go with this. I really don't. But as we sat and talked more with the homeowners and with those that have been affected, we found something really important out. Now, I'm not going to give the exact details, okay? But what Gray and I figured out, and what the homeowners and the people being affected figured out, is although they might be receiving um, more evidence of activity than normal simply because they do have certain abilities and are empathic and such. Probably the biggest contributor to what is going on in their home right now is the location. Now, I don't mean necessarily the land they're on. I mean their location in regards to what is around them. And I would say that's probably the most fascinating thing, wouldn't you, Grayson?
It was definitely a reliever knowing that what was happening, there was a cause to it.
Exactly.
It wasn't their fault. It wasn't. It was the things that were around it that was attracting all these creatures.
Exactly. And creatures is the best way that we can describe it. I mean, granted, we have to only assume that everything has a human nature to it, although some feel a little less than such. We do know that certain things have happened in that house before these particular residents were there that were
Unholy.
troubling, unholy, disturbing, very, very, very disturbing. But that isn't the sole cause of it. When I was standing in the living room and we were all talking, Grayson and I both agreed that what was being felt in the center, almost this vortex of cold, if you will, that was directly in the center of the living room. I kept I kept telling them it felt like it was spanning out in six directions. Like almost like a fork in the road with a center line going one direction and a fork in the road with a center line going the other direction. And what we found out, again, the very interesting part, wouldn't you agree, Grayson, is that those exact dimensions, those exact areas is where the things that are not on their property but are surrounding their property are located. And what is you good, Betty? Okay. Say bye, everybody. And what is so disturbing about that is the fact that it's almost as if they're surrounded by sin. And you know me, I mean, I'm a sin like you mean it gal, okay? But there's bad and then there's woe, okay? There is darkness, so many levels of darkness. And what it showed me was that it's not just when you're on location or something like that, you really do have to look at so many factors to try to find answers and find a way to minimize the fallout of situations like this. You have the people that are there and their abilities or lack thereof. You have the residents or establishment that's there and things that may have happened to it or in it. You have the land that it's on, which could or could not be contaminated. Then you have everything around it within a certain foot, sorry, that was me, foot to mile radius, just depending. Um, I've never looked at it that way before. I've never looked at it that way. And the very bizarre thing about it was I went from feeling completely hopeless to holy shit, we got this. If we know the cause, then we can find a cure. And I don't say cure as in, hey, we're going to go in all Billy Badass and we've got this and there won't be any issues. It isn't that. It isn't that. What it is saying, okay, this seems bigger than I might have thought. This might involve more people than I might have thought. So the cure, or for lack of a better word, that I think we're looking at is not how do we get rid of it, but how do we let this know that we're no longer food for the source. We're no longer fodder. We're no longer going to allow you to feed on us just because you're being brought to this location by those whom we have no control over. And it follows along the same lines as, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. It's really, really, really important to get to the center of something, not to just wish it to go away, not to just, pray and pray that something makes it disappear. But when you finally learn about something, when you finally figure out the cause of it, you're taking back your power. Knowledge is power. It's one of the things what they say that, demons never want you to know their name because they lose their power. Same situation with any type of evilness or negative energy that comes into your home. When you know the source, or when you know where it's coming from and you know that it's not you or not anybody in your home or in your place of business, then you begin to learn how to fight it. And that's because you can separate yourself from it. You can look at it in a more clinical fashion. You can look at it and say, okay, we know that we have not done anything to bring this into our home. We know that we are not causing any of this destructive behavior. We now know that when it makes us feel a certain way, it's not us, it's them or it, depending on what you're dealing with. That separation, that way of looking at it is gold. It's gold because it gives you back your sense of self. It gives you back your hope to fight. It gives you back your reason for looking at this and seeing it in a different way, and you can dissect it and you can say, okay, when we bring certain people into this house, their energy is different than ours, and they might actually be feeding it. They might actually be amplifying, for lack of a better word. So it really is one of those situations, and I've probably talked a little bit in circles there, but knowing what we know now is allowing us to look at this situation in a very clinical fashion. Now, when I went in, I could have taken in all my stones, I could have taken in oils, I could have done all of that, and tried my whole little hubbub and seen if it made any difference. But had I have went in there with that viewpoint, one, we wouldn't have found out what we did. It took almost 4 hours of sitting down and talking and really going through everything and with a magnifying glass, just trying to figure out what in the hell is causing this. It took an exceptional amount of pain just to sit there and feel like something had put a vice around my head. Again, it was making me and Grayson feel everything it's made one of the residents feel on the daily, you know. And I mean, at one point, I'm wanting to scream. It didn't. It hit Grayson hard. It did, and he got out of there for a little bit and came back in. I went out with him for a minute, came back in. Um, but it made you want to scream. So I can only imagine what they're going through on a daily basis. But if I'd have went in there all Billy Badass, we wouldn't have found any of that out. If I would have went in there and been like, "Hey, I'm Vanessa, I got this," we wouldn't have found any of that out. And the other important thing, because they do have somebody from the church coming in, hopefully next week. If I would have went in there and done that without going through that for 4 hours and sitting there talking and hammering things out, if we hadn't have gotten down to the nitty-gritty of it, I could have made it so much worse. I could have. Y'all, that's a responsibility in this field. It's something that you really have to think of. I didn't want to do anything that would damage them having the clergy come in. Because you know how hard it is to get church to take you seriously on this? It's almost fucking impossible. So the fact that somebody is listening to them That's huge. And I'm not going to mess that up for nobody. All I want is this family to know some semblance of peace. So now that we have a really good idea where things are coming from and what's causing it, then the family, the church, and myself can figure out ways to start to slow it down, allow it to dissipate on its own, um, deflect it with other activities, other intentions. Shielding is a huge one. Working on that with the family. Watching who comes into the house and making sure that they're not bringing any type of negative energy in with them. Basically, making them less of a target, and that's our hopes. So I just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. I could have done this on a Facebook live feed, but answering questions while I'm doing it, I lose my train of thought, and I'm sure I forgot certain things, but um, I just want y'all to know. I mean, when you go to do something like this, when a family calls you in, um, be real careful about how you do it. Okay, I didn't, and I hope nothing bad happens because I was there today. But I know I can at least say in my heart I didn't do anything to cause it, and that's really important. Um, Hopefully, we'll have some good news coming up here. That's all we can ask for. Um, I'll let y'all know what I can when I can. Again, it is a private case, and I'm not disclosing where or who. But I do ask that everybody, you know, send some positive energy, and just put that out there into the universe and pray that they're doing okay, as I hope they are. And got some work to do. So anyway, love you guys. I gotta hit stop here. Bye.